let me show you a different example of a command that takes a number as an input and gives text back as the output. So we don't actually have any commands here yet. This is, I'm imagining, part of a rock, paper, scissors game that's got a computer player that chooses their moves at random. So here I'm generating a random integer between 0 and 2, and I'm saving that in computer move. And then I'm saying if the random number was 0, then that means that the computer chose rock. Otherwise, if it equals 1, that means the computer chose paper. Otherwise, if it's 2, that means the computer chose scissors. So this is all, fairly convoluted, or it seems like there should be a simpler way. So let's imagine the simpler way. Let's pretend it exists and create the command that we wished that we had. I wish that I had a sort of a function like this called convert num to move, where you give it as an input a random integer, and the output is going to be the text for the move that number represents. So in other words, if the input number was 0, I'd want to give back as an answer the word rock. And if the input is 1, I would give back the word paper. So how can we make this command? Let's go through the steps. So I'll find the end of the main method by finding the closing brace. I'll start with public static. And then this is where you write the output, or the data type for the output that your command is going to give. So here, the output is actually going to be text. So I'll say string as my output type. And now I'll say the name of my command, which is convert num to move. And now I'm trying to give it an input. See this random num? And random num is an int. So that means I have to create a new variable here in the parentheses to hold the integer. So I'm going to just call it num here. All right, so now I have to actually describe the action that I want the commands to do. So how can I take this num and turn it into the text that I want? I could do something like this. I could say if num is equal to 0, then return the word rock. I don't actually have to make a variable. Remember, whatever comes after the word return is the output that you want your commands to give. So if the input number was 0, I actually do want to just exit immediately with an output that's the word rock. But you're allowed to have more than one return statement. So what if the input number wasn't equal to 0? Then we would never hit this line. It would never execute. Instead, we'd go to the else. So let's do else if. So if num equals 1, then we'll return the word paper. And then what if num equals 2, then we'll return the word scissors. All right, so this seems pretty good, but you might notice down here there's some red underlining, and if we hover our mouse, it says missing return statement. But that's weird because we've got all these return statements. So what's happening is the computer needs to be able to give back an answer no matter what the input is. And here we've only told it what the answers are if the input number is 0 or 1 or 2. What if this input number is something else? What if it's 7 or 24? So an easy thing to do is at the end, you could just return some default value. So you could say error, for example. Or you could make a safe default value like scissors. So if for some reason the input number was 7, you just pretend that meant that they wanted to play scissors. A different thing that you could do, which is the same, is remove this last if. We could just say else. Because remember, else is going to run no matter what, as long as these first two statements weren't true. So in other words, we'll look at the input number and we'll say, is it 0? And if the answer is no, we'll go here. And then we'll say, is it 1? And if the answer is no, we'll go here and run this no matter what the input was. So you see that the red has gone away because now no matter what the input is, it's definitely going to return one of these three words. All right, so let's go back up here. And let's say computer, computer chose, and then computer move. So when I run it, you see computer chose rock, and then if I run it again, oh, computer's choosing rock a lot. It's a good first move. Okay, computer chose scissors, computer chose paper. So you see it's being generated at random. Come back in the next video for seeing how we could improve this idea even one more step.